How's it going, everyone? So I see you've come here looking for a PvP guide video in attempts to prepare and better yourself for the encounters of the PvP world. Well, whether it's to invade a host and tickle his toes with your tongue, or to even spank an invader's big round juicy ass as he's trying to ruin your game, this will be the perfect guide to help you understand the simple rules and ways to better yourself in this PvP environment. So let's not beat around the bush at all, and let's just get directly into the video. So my number one tip for this game, this is probably one of the most important ones whenever it comes to PvP: do not use your martial arts skills. The martial arts skills is almost never worth using because anytime somebody deflects it, it instantly will put you out of your spirit gauge, which then lets them get a free critical strike on you. And you do not want that because as an invader, you take more damage from the host, so pretty much if you get hit once with a critical strike, that's it. That is game for you. It's almost never worth using this martial arts, except some martial arts skills on some of the weapons have a protected martial arts skill where it will actually do like a range attack, and so whenever they deflect that, doesn't matter. So for those ones, they're kind of safe to use, but still be careful and manage your spirit gauge so it doesn't go too negative. Now, for the second tip that I have to give you is try not to use spells when you have negative spirit. Only ever try and use it whenever you have positive in the blue worth of spirit, not even if it's neutral. It's usually not worth it whenever people can punish you. Your positive spirit is very important to use for your buffs and your damage. You don't want to just spam it willy-nilly and become in the negatives, or else they're going to get another critical strike on you. You want to be very conservative with and when you want to use your spells. They're not something to just use whenever you want. Trust me, you will be punished multiple times for that. And then for my third tip, it kind of goes also in the place of my first tip where you don't want to use martial arts skills. Well, for my third one, you're not going to want to use heavies either. Because whenever you have positive spirit, so in the blue spirit, your weapon heavy does an unblockable attack, right? Well, if anyone can ever parry that, then they're going to get an instant free critical strike on you. Because unlike your martial arts skills, whenever you use those, there is a set amount of spirit that is already being used when you press that. Versus with a heavy attack, it eats up your entire spirit bar and puts you in the negatives right away. So, if you get parried with that one, it is guaranteed a critical strike because you've already put yourself in negative spirit. It's almost never worth ever using this if you have positive spirit. If you have negative or neutral spirit, you can use it because then you can do a little mix-up attack with it because they're usually a longer type of attack. So, make sure you don't use it whenever you're positive. And then for my fourth one, it is going to be know your weight limits. There's A, B, C, and D weight limits. A, being the lowest, is 0 to 30%. Anytime you're in 0 to 30% weight limit, you are going to be in the A category. B is going to be 30 to 70. C is going to be 71 to 100, and then anything above 100, you're going to be in D. So, why is this important? Well, let's say that you're 31% on your weight limit. That's going to put you in the B category, right? But you're still pretty much wearing like some lighter-ish armor. There's no point for that. If you're already in the B category or the A category, you need to go all the way as high as possible. There's no point at being like 6% of your weight limit, because you're just missing out on a little bit of heavier armor, which heavier armor gives more defense. So if you're at 31% in the B category, you're going to want to go all the way up to 69%. Because there's no reason at being that low in a weight category, because then you're just missing out on heavy armor and defense. And then for my fifth tip, we're going to go into know your elements. There's a total of 5 different elements, and depending on what your opponent has, you want to be able to counter that if necessary. So, for example, wood beats earth, earth beats water, water beats fire, fire beats metal, and then metal beats wood. What that means is, let's say somebody puts on an earth buff, right? If you use a wood spell on that person's earth buff, it instantly negates it. So if you're going up against someone who is using my build in the previous video where I was completely tanky, if all you do is just put a lightning buff on your weapon, it just takes away every single buff that he has on him. So it is very good to know your elemental matchups. Then for my 6th tip, we're going to go into Deflect Baiting. Now imagine you're fighting a guy, he is just sitting there blocking, waiting to just deflect all of your moves. What will you do? Well, this is something that I came up with called Deflect Baiting. It's where you rush into your opponent, he's just waiting for you to swing, but if you rush into him and you just either spam your block button or just literally keep running at him, maybe press the block button every once in a while, he thinks the block is going for a hit because he's expecting any sort of movement to mean a swing, so then he can deflect it. Guess what? If you just keep sitting there spamming L1, he's going to keep trying deflecting it, and he's going to use up his entire spirit gauge, giving you the chance to finally attack him, and then he's out of his spirit gauge, you get a free critical strike on him. This is very important, and I have no clue why I don't see more people using this. My 7th tip is going to be know your highest damaging attacks, which are always going to be, not always, but most of the time, is going to be your deflect attack. So whenever you deflect someone, you hit your light, and then that instantly goes into attack. Those have a higher damage output than just regular light attacks coming out. So you want to use those as much as possible. So for my 8th tip, it's going to be don't light spam. I know that seems very obvious to some, but others are still learning, so they need to know this stuff. There is no point to light spamming, because your opponent is just going to deflect every single one of those hits, giving them a free deflect attack, hitting you harder than you ever hit them, so it's not worth doing. And then for my 9th and final tip is going to be don't do quality builds. They aren't very good in a game like this. This game fully likes pure builds. Going like 30 into every single stat, you're just losing damage in every single stat. It's not worth doing. It's best to go maxing out one stat and then near maxing out maybe a second stat, or going half and half and 2 other stats. You always want one main. Going pure will always be better in a game like this. And that's going to do it for my PvP guide video. I hope any of these have helped you guys out, even in the slightest, or maybe you've learned something new. If you have, please subscribe, like, everything, do it all, you know it. But if you guys have any other things that you want to say in the comments to help out other players, please let them know in the comments down below, and have a good one. Peace.